Now, our next storyteller is someone who didn't just wish after storytime. She wanted much, much more. She wanted to do much, much more. And I reckon when you hear her story, how she got there, it's probably going to floor you.
Hi everyone. I've got notes in case I forget anything. Okay. I remember being a little girl in grade 1 and dreaming of becoming a writer. I loved stories, particularly Disney ones, because they made me feel something, and from that feeling, I'd sit and draw the characters that inspired me. But sadly, as I grew up, my opportunities were limited because my parents placed little value on my education. They just didn't understand the importance of it. And being the third of 4 children, I was often pushed aside and told that I wasn't smart enough. And years had passed, and at the age of 17, any hope that I had for the future was crushed. Hi, my name is Danielle, and I'm in the final year of my Bachelor's in Communication Design. But it's taken me nearly 10 years to get to this point. You see, I went to 4 different public primary schools throughout my childhood. And then when it came to high school, I was forced to do homeschooling. Now, to this day, I'm still not sure why my parents chose this for me. They never actually told me why. We didn't live far away or anything, but yeah, they just never told me. But what I did know was that I really wanted to go to high school. I wanted to learn, make friends, and do art because I love drawing. But no matter how much I asked them, my parents would always say no. And soon after I started homeschooling, I began working at Hungry Jack's. So now at the age of 14, I was struggling to balance my studies with work because I was working most weekdays. So I can remember sometimes getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning to be at work by 5 a.m. and I'd have to be there for the breakfast shift. So I'd be preparing for about an hour, the front area, cleaning and stocking up the front to be ready by 6 a.m. for the breakfast shift. And then I would work until about lunchtime, and then feeling absolutely exhausted, I'd go home to then start my studies for the day. Seems messed up. So while I worked there for over a couple of years, so I stuck with it, I obtained a certificate 2 and 3 in retail operations, and I got a team leader position at work. But while I did well at work, my studies were often neglected as a result. And at the age of 17, my whole world fell apart because my parents split up and my mum left us. We were all hurting and left to pick up the broken pieces from this event. And I remember thinking in this time, was everything I once knew a lie? But it was going to get worse before it got better. Because around that time, I asked my mum where I was at with my education. Seemed like a pretty good question. And she told me that, so at 17, I wasn't even close to finishing my year 10. Now, I was absolutely gutted. There was no communication in my family. So I was like, what? Are you serious? And I just thought in that moment, I was like, what kind of future or pathways would exist for someone who didn't even have their year 10 certificate? It's like, what am I supposed to do with that? And that was probably the most difficult and challenging time in my entire life. I remember turning to my closest friend, and together we talked about what to do next. And by the time we'd finished, I decided that I was going to do my year 10 equivalent. So at the age of 18, I started the journey to get my education because now I had control over it. And I was still living with my dad. I was working at Subway 3 days a week. And in between that, I was studying to get my year 10. But I had to pay for the tuition fees myself because my parents weren't willing to help me. I was on my own. But soon after I started studies, I began dating my now husband, Carson. he encouraged and supported me the whole way. And I finished my Year 10 certificate in just 4.5 months instead of 6. Now, seems like a pretty good achievement, but at the time I was like, it's just Year 10, like I should have finished this years ago. So I was like, it's nothing. So even though I wasn't feeling that confident, I was determined to get my seniors next. I was still going through stuff with my family at that point, and I was still struggling with my self-worth. But one beautiful day, Carson proposed to me. And I'll never forget that day. It was very special. And at that point, his parents actually took me in, and they gave me some much needed relief from my family because they were cray-cray. And that's all I'm going to say. But they valued education. And so they encouraged me to never give up and to pursue my dreams. And in the new year, I enrolled as a mature age student to get my seniors. I started working towards it. Now, at this point, I still had to support myself, and it was really, really hard. But I chose to do just a few subjects because that was realistic. But I chose art as one of them because I enjoyed art. And that year, I got 4 major awards. I got a high achievement in modern history, a very high achievement plus an academic award in Maths B, and also a special bursary award for my determination. When I found out, I thought, I'm not gonna lie, they must have got the awards mixed up, right? That's not me. Like, they must have just, like, that's hers. But at my graduation, as they called me up to that stage, I felt so proud of myself. And soon after that time, Carson and I got married, and we went to Disneyland for our honeymoon. It was his idea too. Kudos. Not mine. And I started to dream again. When we got back, I was going to just continue with my seniors. But Carson's parents, Wade and Fiona, they suggested graphic design. And I was like, that's interesting. Okay. I don't like giving up on things, but I was like, that seems like a better pathway. Let's go there. So I applied at CATC for a diploma, and I got in. So that was exciting. And I was still working. So I was still trying to juggle, work with study. But, I was excited about that. And after 2 years, I graduated thinking, I almost couldn't believe it. I had a diploma. Like, that was big for me. I was like, I never even dreamed of that. And so I got this diploma, and then at my exhibition night, I was presented with the Square Peg Award. It's like, I must be in a dream. And that was for students who showed tenacity and drive. But then the doubt creeped in again, and I was like, how could I have won another award? Like, I worked hard, but I'm not that special. I'm not that smart. At least that's what my family had told me my whole life. But Carson and his parents, Wade and Fiona, were always there to support me and to remind me to never give up on my dreams. And that's what helped me get through. At the end of my diploma, I was encouraged to further my career in doing a bachelor's at Billy Blue. Now, at the time, I thought, I'm not going to do a degree. Stuff that. I'm not smart enough to finish it. That's honestly what I thought. That's like writing and stuff. Like, I can't do that. And after a little while, though, the curiosity sort of got to me. I was like, okay, let's do it. And I was like, why not? I got this far. And so at the age of 22, I became a student at Billy Blue. And I was still working, but now I felt like my life was finally going in the right direction. But then after my first uni trimester, I found out I was pregnant with my son. It's like, of course. But he was a miracle for Carson and I. So I decided to put my studies on hold. I thought it was a good reason to. And after 2 years, I returned to finish what I'd started. I was determined to get it. And when I came back to my degree, I was taking 1 to 2 subjects at a time. And I was determined more than ever to get it done. And I was also feeling more confident in myself at this point. So now I'm at the end of my degree and it feels so surreal. I've had some amazing opportunities, and those opportunities have steered me towards a new passion, and that's helping create positive social change for people through design and storytelling. The highlights for me so far have been recently pitching to a local NGO an original idea for one of their family relief services. I know a little bit about family relief services, family relief. And also I'm working on a new initiative to help support vulnerable women in the Northern Territory. And then more recently, I've been offered an internship to a social design agency starting in September. So I almost can't believe it. It still feels really like unreal. Like I don't know whether to believe it or not. But so now when I look at that, I think about that little girl in grade 1, I smile, because after 21 years, her dreams of becoming a writer and telling stories are now starting to come true. Thank you.